Zach Peay, Jamar Perkins. It's crunch time here live in the studios of Austin Peay. Zach Peay joined as always by Jamar Perkins and Reese Britt. Gentlemen, it's great to see you guys here for yet another episode of Crunch Time. We got a lot to get into, obviously with fall break and everything like that. We missed a couple little things here and there. We had some time off. So I got to ask real quick, Jamar, how was your break, man? Just those 2 days off, but a chance to get some time to relax, right?
Not really. A lot of schoolwork, but that's just the life of a college student. Still glad to not have to wake up as early as I usually do for school, but good weekend. Reese, what about you?
Yeah, pretty good. The golf team, actually, I was with them this past weekend. We went down, or I guess up to Cincinnati, Ohio for Xavier's tournament. We finished second as a team. That's our best finish in probably a year and a half, 2 years. So we're trending the right direction going into the spring season. I individually finished third, shot 4 under. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. So not trying to gloat on myself, but that's pretty tough for. No, I appreciate it. That's pretty tough for Division I.
I think you could have done better, but
yeah, no, hey, you could have. I mean, hey.
Oh man.
But no, what about you?
My weekend was great. I mean, I was a little sick over the weekend. I did get a chance to see some cool wrestling stuff happen. You know, with Vince McMahon finally gone with WWE, there's some cool stuff happening there. Bray Wyatt returns to WWE. That was cool to see. But other than that, I got to watch some really cool games. We'll get, of course, into the recap of what happened for Week 5 for the NFL during their NFL segment, and some other stuff too. But that does bring us real quick into Austin Peay State University football. Obviously, with fall break, we had a bye week, so there's no football to cover for that. But there is something we can talk about, which is the future game this Saturday, which is a very familiar opponent, the Battle of the Border. Jamar, I think you've got more on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, Murray State 0-6 have had a terrible season, which is an Austin Peay fan I love to see. Love to see Murray State suck. And I'm going to love to see Austin Peay beat Murray State by at least 21 points this weekend.
You're calling it a 21-point game?
I'm calling it. I mean, 0-6 Murray State versus at home. Because I think the Fort's going to be decently packed. I hope it is.
I hope it is, too.
I hope it is, because we're going to be there. We're going to be calling
that game. You and I are going to be there for sure.
And it's a battle of the border. And to see Murray State like this, there's no way Austin Peay lets Murray State get their first win against them.
Yeah. I think you're on the right track. Reese, you got anything extra you want to add?
Yeah, well, I just pulled up their schedule. Last week they lost 16-45 to UT Martin. The week before that, 14-48 to Southeastern Louisiana. They lost to Eastern Illinois on the season, to Ball State, Jacksonville State, and Texas Tech. So they've had some pretty gruesome losses, and they have not been able to score the football whatsoever, it looks like.
I'm not sure if the camera can catch my grimace, but that was some awful games.
Speaking of UT Martin, there was some Twitter beef going on. I'm not sure if any of you guys saw it, but UT Martin, their social media, athletics page, basically posted sending out the people leaving in a good way. Murray State, of course, is transitioning to the Missouri Valley Conference,
right?
And they beat us last year, so they kind of put in a graphic. Everybody who's leaving the OVC we're beating, and they beat us by 1 point last year.
Throwing some shade.
Yeah, I'd love to see UT Martin on the schedule next year for Austin Peay.
We might actually very well see that.
We can make it happen. I don't know. I hope you're listening, AD, or whoever makes the schedule. I don't know who makes the football schedule or how that works, but I'm excited. Obviously, like I said, I think 21-point lead at least, and I'm excited to see a whole bunch of touchdowns. Mike DeMandilillo, Dre Big Play McCray. I expected them to have some big games. I'm excited. But
I do hope the man comes up and shows up this time, because we talked about the Central Arkansas game. Yeah. We expected them to do a similar standpoint, about 21 points, because Arkansas had only won one game.
And we called it wrong.
And we did. But this time we're going to be at the game. It is at the Fort, which is the Governors play so much better at home.
Yeah.
So it could very well be one of the better games we get to see. And as you said, it's a battle of the border. Yeah. It is a old rivalry for the OVC. It's our first year in the ASUN, so this rivalry is still pretty fresh for us, even though we're no longer part of the OVC conference. I'm very excited for this game. I think the Governors are going to do good. I don't think it's 21 points. I think it's more like 14.
I don't know,
only because of how bad they played.
But look how good
in
our
the
defense is.
Yeah, but you say that second half of the Central Arkansas game.
Good point.
48 unanswered points.
Good point. Then we're coming back off of that. We're coming off a bad.
You're right.
Now you think Austin Peay, we got some pride, man. We're taking this game serious after our last loss.
I do think the Governors win the game. I'm not saying the Governors lose this game, so I don't want the football team coming to find me later on after this broadcast and take me out. Even though they'd have all right to if I said Murray was winning. Murray's not winning this game. I really think it's an Austin Peay game to lose at this point, because they're 0-6 and they look awful.
To transition to, I want to say, Reese, I am a huge Austin Peay fan, but I know on CrunchTIme we had a poll that voted what's our most exciting game we're looking forward to. And I'll be honest, it is not the Battle of the Border. It's that Alabama-Tennessee game. I'm excited for it. I know you got a lot to talk about. So go ahead and tell us.
So I'll actually be going to that game this Saturday, which I'm pretty pumped about. But and as everybody knows on this podcast, I'm a Tennessee fan through
What?
and through. Yeah, I
No.
know, surprising
No
to
way.
every
You
surprising
and
to
Nick's both?
everybody.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I know everybody around here. Jay too, Tennessee fans. So, but
Starting to wonder why I get along with you guys. No, I'm just
well, no, I mean I'm from Knoxville, so it's really tough to not be a Tennessee fan in that kind of orange wave over there. But College Game Day is going to be there, so that's there in pretty much
Good
2
old
weeks
Pat.
out of the last 3. Yeah, and then obviously third Saturday in October, huge rivalry. This is the first time both teams have been undefeated going into this game since 1989.
wow.
1989.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be really fun. I was talking to a few of my buddies and, just reminiscing on some of the down years that Tennessee's had over the past couple years, just leaving the stadium with more questions than what we showed up there with, more frustrations than what we showed up there with. And it's just, going to be a fun time to let all that emotion out in one game. And there's not going to be a better place to be than Rocky Top on Saturday, in my opinion.
Actually, and that does give us a great transition, and I want to real quick take a pause from that game and just mention real fast the college football standings. As Georgia currently sitting at 6-0, Ohio State at 6-0, Alabama 6-0 as well, Clemson 6-0, Michigan 6-0, Tennessee at number 6 at 5-0 right now, USC 6-0 at number 7, Oklahoma State at number 8 at 5-0, Ole Miss at 6-0 at number 9, and Penn State finishing out the top 10 at 5-0. Of course, Penn State plays Michigan this weekend as well. That's going to be another really good game to watch. Back to the Tennessee-Alabama game. We talked about this, you and I, back and forth. I've been in Tennessee way too long to understand how Tennessee sports is, and you've obviously grew up a UT fan, so you understand this too. No matter what it seems to be in, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, always seems about the halfway point of their season, we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that proverbial shoe always drops, and we see a team that should have been XYZ wins to losses and should have been a really good bowl game be about a team that's kind of getting a mediocre bowl game and not finishing the way they were, i.e. the Butch Jones era.
Yep.
Because there was many times when Butch Jones should have taken that team to a competitive atmosphere that they weren't there. My question to you, being such a diehard fan, and we talked about this earlier. Obviously, you think UT's going to win. We've all kind of talked about this, and we all think UT has a really good shot to winning. I personally think Bama might pull it out just because it is Alabama. It's Nick Saban, and it's hard to bet against Nick Saban. But this is not the same Alabama team that we've seen in the past. The quarterback's coming in hurt. Bryce Young not doing that great.
Might not even play.
Might not even play. UT's got question marks on the defense too with your safety, and I believe a corner is also having some issues as well. My question to you is, if UT wins this game, not only where do they wind up in the college football rankings, is Bama dropping out of the top 10?
I don't think Bama's going to drop out of the top 10 just because it's still, yes, they've had trouble, but it's still an Alabama coach. It's a Nick Saban coached Alabama team.
Right.
I mean, let's not forget that. I mean, Nick Saban's probably the best college football coach of all time. He knows what to do. He knows what to the right buttons to push at the right time.
Did that hurt saying, by the way?
I mean, honestly, a little bit, but I respect him. I mean, he's done what he needed to do. It comes in 2007, has a terrible year, and then he's taken that team to be
what
really
it is.
good. Yeah,
I mean,
it's phenomenal.
Passing Bear Bryant records.
Yeah,
I mean, it's insane.
Literally. But I think Alabama will drop probably to, depends on how big the loss is, obviously, or whatnot. I'm not calling it early, but I'll say if they lose by 10 points, they won't drop out of the top 10. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Not dropping out of the top 10, especially because of the fact that I don't think this will be if Tennessee wins, it'll be a close game. I feel like it'll be within 3, maybe a touchdown.
I think it's a 3-point game.
Also, you talked about it because they have that Coach Saban or Nick Saban coach team. They also have, of course, their players. So you look at Alabama's roster, it's kind of hard to put that talent under top 10. So I think even with the loss, I definitely don't think they drop past 10.
First time in this game's history that Tennessee is not a point favorite of 14 or less.
Yeah.
I will say that because you've been 14 points at disadvantage every year for the last, 5 years?
More than that, probably 10.
Even at home.
Yeah, probably 10.
Even
probably,
at home, which is insanity. And so I will say it is great to see that UT football is back. It's great to see that UT football is doing so good. We've talked about Alabama struggling against A&M. Jimbo Fisher talked about Alabama struggling against the soon-to-be SEC Longhorns.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see how this game ends.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing.
Sure.
Bryce Young has not played in what this atmosphere is going to be on Saturday in Neyland Stadium. Neyland Stadium is a powder keg about to erupt.
Right.
And I think that Bryce Young's, if it is Bryce Young, he's going to have a very tough time communicating with his offensive line, communicating with the coaches on the sideline. It's going to be a very tough.
Is he a freshman or sophomore? I can never remember.
He's a redshirt sophomore, I think.
Okay.
So really a junior.
So
but
probably played maybe once in Florida or something like that. Because I can say the only atmosphere that even comes close to Neyland, and I've been to Neyland when it's checkerboard, because I have been there at least once for that. Not for a game for Tennessee, obviously. I mean, I was there for Tennessee game, but I wasn't there for Tennessee. For checkerboard games, it is a loud atmosphere. The only atmosphere that comes close is Florida Gators. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's because the swamp is louder than it can all get out half the time.
Right.
But I do agree with you. This atmosphere is completely different.
Yeah.
I don't think Young's going to be able to handle it if he plays.
Yeah, let alone if they have a backup. If they've got Jalen Milroe or if they've got even Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson's got
heavy
Tennessee
run
ties. Yeah, you will. You will. And Tennessee up front, the front seven, is arguably the best in the SEC, one of the best in the SEC statistically. So,
right. The only one I think that comes close is Georgia, and they
yep.
haven't played anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I just think it's going to be fun. So I want to get a quick prediction. I know you got Tennessee winning. I know that most of the crew out there have got Tennessee winning. I'm going to go ahead and side with UT, even though I do think Bama might take it out. Me siding with UT is an underdog picture, right? I'd love to see a changing of guard and like UT to go. Jamar, I got to ask you, UT or Bama?
I would love to watch the first quarter before I pick this game.
Oh, dude, right? Just to see how it starts. But it won't start until 3:30, and we're going to be at a game coverage for Austin Peay.
I gotta see one more. I gotta pick Alabama.
Yeah,
I want UT to win though, but I'm gonna pick Bama.
Yeah, and so him and I, we're sitting in the same boat. We've both seen the proverbial shoe waiting. We just don't know if it's gonna drop or not.
That's fine. It just has a different feel this year, man.
It does, man.
It's got a different
and that's
feel.
a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. And I think that's why all of us who do sports are just like, maybe, maybe
literally.
But I think that transitions very well to our next segment. Is we're going to talk a little bit about NBA real quick. Draymond Green, as we've talked about a few weeks, punching Jordan Poole, was officially only fined for the punch that he threw after being shoved. For those that get a chance to watch our lovely graphic and see the actual thing that happened.
Oh man.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was going to be on there.
Yeah.
I was saying, he punched him, and he apologized and said that he acted out it. I don't know.
He didn't.
I don't know. I mean, he said that he still thinks about Jordan the same way.
Right.
He said that he still wants to help Jordan achieve his goals. He said there's a reason. He says there's a reason that Jordan Poole's locker is right next to Draymond's, because he kind of takes him is a mentor to him. And I definitely think this team can get past it. We talked about it before the show.
Right.
How this definitely is kind of like a last straw for Draymond. Like,
it is.
Okay. You know, the kicking thing. We have the technical fouls, and now we have this. You punching your own teammate. And get me wrong too, if that video didn't get released, this would be. I mean,
we'd never hear about it.
We did hear about it though. I think it was because we did hear about it before the video got released. They said that it was an altercation, but like the video made it so much worse.
Yeah,
I think if the video doesn't surface, you don't even see a fine come through. To be honest, you just hear Draymond and Jordan got into it. That's what you hear, right?
Yeah.
But with the video surfacing, it's like, oh.
Yeah,
this is more than getting into it. But it's more than an altercation. This is a physical fight.
Did you also see TMZ paid like one report said they paid like $10,000 for the film. Another one said they paid $150,000 for the film. But it's just like that's so TMZ. That's so TMZ, man. I hate to say that,
and
but
at
it
a time
is.
right now in the league, when the league's still trying to find a new owner for the Phoenix organizations, for the women's basketball, and for the WNBA and for NBA. Yeah. At a time when that should be the focus of what's going on in the NBA, or the Boston Celtics coach that is currently having, which by the way, there's more stipulations attached to that too. And once we find out about whether the stipulations are true, I'll happily share those. But for now, I'll grieve on the side of not airing anything that isn't confirmed yet for the Boston Celtics coach. But there is stuff that surfaced about that's ridiculous now. Now it makes sense while we're hearing about this situation. But until I'm able to firmly clear those sources, I don't want to make any stones. I don't cast any stones and get in trouble. You know what I'm saying?
I still think the Warriors will come out of this strong.
think so,
Draymond
too.
will play tomorrow, apparently.
Yes.
So will Jordan Poole. So we'll see them on the floor together more than likely. And then, NBA season starts next week.
Yeah.
So
he was taking time away from the team. Some believe that it was a chance for him to dwell on whether he'd be traded or not. I don't believe he's going to be traded. Although I will say, Coach Kerr did not seem like he had a no nonsense type thing for this. And if this happens again, it looks like Kerr will just move Draymond somehow, because the Golden State Warriors are not a team, even though they're a championship team, they're not above sacrificing their championship for a player. They'll send that player out and go grab somebody they feel is just as good. And no offense to Green, there are players right now in the league that are just as good as Draymond, or at least in a similar caliber that can be just as good in that system.
It's hard though because
And
no one knows that system.
And healthier probably too.
No one knows that system better than Draymond.
I mean, that's absolutely true. Like I said, I mean, no one's going to fully replace him probably, but I do think that if he has another one of these instances, there's just no way to keep the guy on the team. I mean, at some point, just like in football, at some point you got to look at the player and go, you know what? You're not worth it.
Yeah.
I think there's somebody else I can get.
Yeah.
For probably cheaper.
What do y'all think would have happened if he punched Steph? Like he punched Jordan Poole?
He'd be traded instantly because
Yeah.
Steph is your team. No offense to Warriors, I get it. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, you know, they're both your guys, but Steph's your team.
Yeah.
I mean, Klay didn't play for half the season last year, and you still won the NBA championship. So,
Also, Steph's the face of your franchise
golden
pretty much
boy.
ever.
could you imagine
Ever.
punching the face of the franchise? Ka-ka! Oops.
Yeah.
I wish we could hear the audio. That was one thing.
Oh,
I'm
dude, that'd be
we
great.
we couldn't
TMZ
play it
didn't
for
pay
crunch
enough,
time.
man.
Yeah.
They're balling on a budget.
Probably $100K off of what they needed to pay. They needed 250 instead of 150. Yeah.
They were like, okay.
Other NBA news: Pelican center Jackson Hayes is out for the season with a torn left UCL in his left elbow. That is his non-dominant elbow. That's awful. I mean, that's just another blow to a team that finally probably gets Zion back for a full year, possibly, and now you just lost one of the best pieces in your team structurally.
I'll say I definitely think he was a nice player off the bench. He's kind of like a Zion role in a sense of an athletic big to kind of help, but I definitely think that they can bounce back from this. Maybe some free agency moves. He wasn't that big a part of the team. But looking at the Pelicans, too, they're one of those teams I think that can kind of emerge this year. They get to see C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion all play together.
Should be deadly. Those three together are going to be awesome.
I think the West is really tough this year. I mean, I think the NBA in general, because now we have the Clippers. That's a team, man.
And they're
John Wall,
healthy.
He's looking pretty nice.
Right. A lot of teams. I mean, Minnesota. We talked about this last week. Minnesota could very well take off and be able to be one of those teams that surprises everybody in the start of the season.
I really want to see Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert play together because they I don't think they might have done a little preseason, but like I want to see them in a real NBA game against some real competition and see how that lineup works.
Do the Pelicans still have Lonzo Ball? Is he still there, or
No.
did he get traded?
He's with the Chicago
He's with the
Bulls.
Bulls.
He's with the
but
Bulls. Okay.
he's currently out right now too.
Yeah.
He's got some issues going on with I believe his back.
Right.
Yeah. The
I don't
Bulls
know.
could be a sneaky team this year.
Speaking
I'm
of-
just thinking about that.
Speaking of the Bulls and the Ball brothers and all that, I gotta mention was it LaMelo?
Yeah, he's
the
got
one
an
that
injury right now.
the one that got picked up by
Jello.
Jello.
Yep.
Yeah, so he got picked up by the Hornets, right?
Yep.
Well, apparently he was in a game the other day and didn't do right, and he made his daddy very mad. His dad was yelling at him constantly, and I thought that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just wanted to mention that real quick.
And speaking of that too, Melo, he's got a sprained ankle, so he's gonna miss the start of the season as well. So a lot of injuries. I'm excited to see what the Warriors doing. Real quick, Russell Westbrook.
He's gonna be gone soon.
From what I saw last night and how disengaged he was with his team, it does look like that. I mean, when you have a team huddled by the free throw line and Russ just doesn't want to go in there.
And there's other things that happened in that game too. I mean, the ball passed to him from another team, and he throws that ball back. They create this little like tiff for a minute. He's acting like he's 6, man, or like he's still in high school, and he's trying to earn a roster spot when he realizes that he's not that good anymore. I mean, and I think the guy needs to work on his game some. I mean, because he's not looked good either. I mean, obviously. And that's the guy. That's my guy. I mean, we talked about it all last year and all last season. That was the guy I was supporting for that whole team. I thought he was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
That's the biggest bust of my life.
Yeah.
He's just not good enough anymore to be performing these shenanigans. Like,
Right.
you know, if you're dropping like he was, you know, his last year with the Thunder, you know, 40 points, he's averaging a triple double. If you're doing that, okay, you can let a few of these things slide.
Right.
But you know, you're not even averaging 20 points a game anymore for a Lakers team that's got better players than you, frankly.
Right. Even if your 3-point game
got
is
5 better
half-
players.
Even if your 3-point game was half of what it was before you got to LA,
Yeah.
you would be somewhat accepted. It's not even that.
Yeah.
You're not playing near the player you were.
I'm excited for next season, but as excited I am about NBA, I feel like we got to jump into baseball.
Oh yeah, we do. I'm
Let's
hitting
talk
I'm hitting the
about
MLB playoffs right now, as I do have the updated stuff. We had a wild ride for the wild card series. No pun intended for all of that. As it was a best of 3 series for each team. The Phillies unfortunately beat St. Louis Cardinals, ending Molina and Albert's and Wainwright's season. Sad for those 3. They'll retire as probably the best players really in a long time for the St. Louis Cardinals, especially Albert Pujols. But Philly did pass, had a 2-0 win. They played the Braves last night. I believe it's Adam Wright, it was the pitcher's name, that came in relief in the 6th inning, won the Braves game. So now the Phillies and Braves are tied 1-1. I believe they will play tomorrow. San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers are 1-1 right now. They're tied currently as a series. The Cleveland Guardians, such a great name, and the New York Yankees are postponed for today. They were supposed to play today. They will not happen until tomorrow due to a rain delay in New York. And then the Seattle Mariners are playing Houston. Houston does lead that right now 1-0, but Seattle played really well game 1 against Houston, and I really feel like they've got a good shot. I just hope the Cinderella story continues for them. We will obviously keep you guys kind of informed and stuff as we know more and more about these playoffs. Right now, obviously, as it stands, it's definitely developing into something very, very good. Obviously, most of our answers have changed who we thought. As we look at these playoffs now, I'm going to start with you, Jamar, because you led us into baseball.
I want to itch into something really fast.
Right.
One thing I don't really like the playoff rule where we're doing the best of 3 in the first wild card.
Well, it used to be
like
a one sudden death game.
I like the one. I mean, when you look at it too, most of these games were won 2-0. So it's like you didn't even need the series. You could have just had the one game. So I like the one game. It adds an extra kind of flair to it and kind of intensity to it, I think. But I mean, 3 isn't bad, but
it also moves the postseason along. I feel like we've been a little stagnant. I was watching Phillies and Braves last night, and frankly, I hadn't really kept up too much with that series, and I didn't even know that was the first game. I thought it was the game 2 of that series. I know
Philly
it's
and Atlanta
7
last
games.
night.
Yeah, Philly
that was the second game.
That was the
second game of the season.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because they're 1-1 right now.
So I was right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yep.
But just looking at it too, I didn't see some of these happening. I definitely thought we talked about Tampa playing the Yankees.
Yeah, I thought Tampa was going to make it past Cleveland. They didn't show up at all. The Mets didn't show up against the Padres for the second game. For the third game. The second game they did great on. But that third game, it was like, where'd you guys go?
Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals. Disappointing.
I don't even know how that happened, to be honest.
It was 6 runs in late in one of those late innings.
That second game, I'm pretty sure it was awful.
I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm disappointed. I was kind of rooting for the Cardinals a little bit. Albert Pujols getting to do some extra stuff.
Right, Albert. I mean, so my question for you guys is this: we're looking at this, obviously we had a Cinderella run keep happening with Seattle, be making it against number 1 Houston. So you got the number 5 seed versus number 1. Here's my question: I'm going to run down this list, and I'm going to ask you who's going to win to make it to the ALCS and the NLCS. We're not going to talk about World Series. We're just going to talk about this next game.
Okay.
All right. So we got Cleveland and New York. Right now, New York leads 1-0. Obviously, they're delayed for until tomorrow. Who's winning this series, guys?
Yankees.
Yankees?
I got Yankees. Yep.
Yankees. Honest truth, I couldn't agree with you guys more. I think it's the Yankees too. I don't want to see them go.
Sadly,
but I think it's going to. Seattle and Houston. Houston.
No Cinderella story.
No Cinderella. You say Cinderella is done for the ball now. This
but I
is
don't know.
it.
Last year, I specifically remember me saying that the Peacocks wouldn't win in the March Madness. So.
Right, and they made it to like the top 8.
You're right.
Give me Seattle. I don't like Houston whatsoever.
I don't either. I think
I despise them.
Other than Trey Mancini, they got a lot of things wrong with them.
Yeah.
Philadelphia and Atlanta. Reese, I'm going to start with you on that side.
I got Atlanta.
Atlanta?
Yeah, stay close to home.
Atlanta. I'm going to do it again for the NLCS. I'm going to go back to you, Reese. Dodgers and Padres.
I like Padres. I really do.
Really?
Yep, I really do.
Really?
I think they're deeper in the bullpen than the Dodgers are.
They are. They are definitely deeper in the bullpen with Josh Hader closing out and actually being more of a reliever and closer than anything. So they're definitely deeper. Jamar?
I have the Dodgers to win me $342 on FanDuel.
Ooh.
342.
Man, gotta drop that
Okay,
FanDuel.
I want to talk about that real quick. So we got started off. I had the parlay. We talked about it after talking about the show. Warriors and the Dodgers. Warriors won, so I got that already hit. Now I got the Dodgers. Before the World Series started, the playoffs started, it was a $75 cash out. Now then it turned into a 93 after they won Game 1. Now it's back to 71. So I really need them to win. I'm gonna let it ride though. $342.
You got to.
I hope your wife doesn't listen to the show.
Yeah, I won't let her watch this episode.
Good.
This guy sports bets? Like what?
You're gonna have to watch your funds now. All of a sudden, you know. Yeah. I feel like it's a good chance to turn through. I will say I think New York's gonna make it. I think I'd like to see the ALCS as New York and Seattle, but I think it's gonna be New York and Houston. I think the NLCS will be Atlanta and the Dodgers because I don't think the Padres or the Phillies are gonna be able to beat either one of those teams. But I do think the Braves make it to the World Series again because the Dodgers are gonna choke because karma is karma.
Yeah.
For those that want to finish that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
that moves us on to the NFL. I want to real quick mention the current standings real fast before I jump into all of our news. AFC East, the Bills lead right now. They're 4-1. AFC West, it's the Chiefs with 4-1. AFC South, the Titans somehow lead with 3-2. And the AFC North, the Ravens are leading 3-2 as well. NFC North, it's the Vikings at 4-1, which is random. I haven't seen the Vikings lead in a long time in that division. NFC South, it's the Bucks. We kind of figured that one at 3-2. 5-0 for the Eagles in the NFC Beast, is that what you called it earlier?
Yeah, NFC Beast.
We'll call it NFC Beast for right now for 5-0. And then the NFC West, the 49ers lead that right now 3-2. Some news. Let's jump in. If memory serves correctly, let's jump into our lovely trade alert right now. Deion Jones traded to the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Pro Bowl linebacker has not played this season due to injury. It's a very good trade for the Browns. It was traded about 2 weeks ago. To be honest, this is a little bit older news, but I wanted to make sure that we got our information right for this because he's been hurt. He hasn't been on the field for at least a season. Atlanta got hardly anything for the guy, and I'm pretty sure this guy was a top pick for Atlanta, like a first or second round pick. So it's insane to see Atlanta get hardly anything for a guy that was good for that caliber.
Yeah.
Someone's been fired. And that person that's been fired is Matt Rule. Coach Matt Rule has been fired from Carolina. He was 11-27 as a head coach in 3 seasons. Steve Wilkes takes over the job. He was the defensive coordinator. He's now the head coach. He's 3-13 record. He has a 3-13 record as a head coach which was for Arizona for 1 season. It's the worst season that Arizona's ever had, and they fired him the season after that. Big news for Carolina is they might have the number 1 overall pick.
I have a rumor. He's talking about Cam Newton might be.
There's a lot of rumors right now.
I've heard he's
in
in
Carolina.
talks with Washington too. Have you seen stuff like that?
Yeah, but
you don't want to see that. Huh?
Well, I don't. I would like to see it just because how bad Carson Wentz has been, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, and I think that brings us right there too. Is we want to talk. I really want to talk about real fast because we don't have too much longer. Officiating over the weekend yet again was awful. Many teams lost hope due to the penalties being a significant factor in losing the game. Injuries are on the rise right now in the NFL. As Russell Wilson has torn a lat in his non-throwing shoulder. If memory serves correctly, Carolina's down to their 3rd QB with former XFL star P.J. Walker starting now this Sunday. Baker's out for 2 to 6 weeks. Darnold's still out for another 2 weeks. It looks like the Dolphins are on their 3rd quarterback with a rookie starting against Minnesota this weekend. Tua is practicing though, which is a good sign for the Dolphins.
Patriots, are they still starting to West?
They're on Zap.
Yeah.
They're on that guy right now. So it's a very interesting time in the NFL. But I want to jump into these games real quick because we don't have much time to cover this. Thursday night, Commanders versus Bears. It's an even standpoint. Who you got? Jamar, I'll start with you.
I got Bears.
You got the Bears?
Too, wife's been complaining that I watch too much football. She won't have to worry about tonight. That's all I'm going to say. Reese?
Oh, gosh, man.
Sorry, man. It's
Really?
Commanders
I'm
and
going to watch the
Bears.
game.
Really?
I'm
sorry,
assuming
man.
you have the Commanders.
Yes, I'm going Commanders. Carson Wentz 6-0 in Thursday night football games, 3-0 against the Bears all time. Give me Commanders.
I'm going to take the Bears because the Bears are looking actually somewhat better than I thought they would this year. Justin Fields running the team. Montgomery's coming back, even though he's a little banged up. I still think it's a good time for the Bears right now. Sunday night football, we've got the Cooper Crush not undefeated Cowboys because they're 4-1 on the season, but Cooper Crush is undefeated as their quarterback currently, playing the undefeated Eagles. Who you got, Reese?
I'll go Eagles. I think they keep perfect on the year.
Okay.
Eagles.
All right, I got the Eagles too. I think the Cowboys just can't hang. Philly is favored by 6 in that game. Monday night, it's the awful Broncos with the Russell Wilson playing with a hurt lat, and the Chargers with a quarterback that has rib injuries. Who's winning? Reese, we'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, I'll go Chargers. I just think Broncos. They're not good.
And Broncos country, they're awful.
Let's not ride.
Chargers.
I got the Chargers too because the Broncos are looking bad. But there is question marks on all sides of the ball for both teams, so that could be a good game. Game of the week was chosen by James this week. James, thank you for the game of the week. It's the Cardinals versus the Seahawks. I'll go ahead and say I've got Geno Smith and the Seahawks winning this one. Jamar, I'm going to start with you on that one.
I also have the Seahawks. I think Geno has a good game. I'm disappointed though, and I've said it. I said I would call him out. Jay, you should have picked the Bills and Chiefs as your game of the week.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That is a game that's
so tired of talking about them. I think is why
I have the Chiefs in that game.
You have the Chiefs in that game. I have the Chiefs in that game as well. Ironically, Reese.
I'll take the Chiefs in that game as well, but I'll go Seahawks here. I like him at home as well.
Gino's looking good, man. He's looking like an MVP candidate. Guys, I want to thank you guys each week for coming in and taking time out of your day to do the show with me. It's always a pleasure to do the show. I want to thank Doc V, Steve Sawyer, David Ellison, Wicks, Jay, Joanne, Trey. Thank everyone so much for making the show possible. Week in and week out, it's always a great time to be here. I do want to mention that currently right now, Jay is leading in the standings at 6-5. There's a three-way tie for second between Trey, myself, and Jamar for second place right now.
I know why he did it. That Chiefs-Bills game is a little harder to predict. So
Yeah.
he didn't want to mess up his
He's
record.
packing the deck.
That's a point.
He's packing the deck.
I see
Yeah.
what it is.
Right. But I want to thank each and every one of you guys so much. Reminder: you can catch us on our socials at APSU CrunchTIme every week. We do a poll every other day. We're doing we're asking you guys questions, having you guys ask us questions. We're even doing lives before our show, so you can watch us how we're doing our live setups. Find us at APSU CrunchTIme on Instagram and Twitter, and you can also find us on Podbean at APSU CrunchTIme as well. It's been great having you guys here this week. I'll see you all obviously next week. Catch our game this week on 91.9 FM against WAPX FM, Clarksville's 91.9, to see the Austin Peay game as well against Murray State as that kickoff airs at 3 o'clock. We'll see you next week for Crunch Time. It's been a great show.